Welcome, everybody, to Hanging Out with Howie on Monday nights at 10 o'clock on Disc Jockey News TV. I have my trusty co-host with me, Brian S. Red, and our guest of honor, the renowned Joey Blue from New York City. Welcome, Joey.
Transplanted to Florida now.
Transplant to Florida. So how you feeling these days?
Me? I'm doing good. I'm feeling better. I can see again. I just need to cope with some other issues I have. Mm-hmm. About 200 pounds, and I'll be all right.
Yeah.
You're fluffy.
Yeah, we've been there. That's great. So, hey, let's get into it. So, how did you get started?
Well, I have a question. I have a good one.
Yeah?
Go
ahead.
Where are you from specifically, Joey? Where'd you grow up? Huh?
Fort Apache.
Oh my gosh, the movie.
It was pretty much true. I was a light-skinned white boy with blue eyes down there in the middle of a gang-infested area. Because there were 3 blocks away, you had one gang. Another 3 blocks this way, you had a different gang. And if you lived in the middle, you were screwed. So I was running around as a kid a lot. But I was big, so at 13 I was 6 feet tall.
Wow.
So we were sneaking into these clubs all over the place, man, because you hear the music outside. And they, at that point, back then, those days, they didn't care. You give them money, they let you in. Nobody checked IDs in the Bronx. They just wanted money. And I heard the DJs, and then I found out nobody messed with the DJs. I was like, wow. And the one guy, I mean, before that, they even had pitch control turntables. This man was segueing and beat, and then just carrying the rhythm. That's what I want to do.
What year are we talking? What year are we talking, Joey? About what year are we talking on that? How long?
What year?
Yes.
1974.
74.
Oh, right. So you're just a kid then, huh?
Yeah.
I was 14 years old.
Are we talking about Kool Herc?
What was that, Brian?
What DJ are we talking about? Are we talking about Kool Herc?
No, this gentleman, his name was Ralphie Rodriguez.
Okay.
He was a local Bronx DJ over there. And he was like, I mean, I would go try to look over the thing, but you couldn't see. It was just dark.
Right.
And he had the 2 turntables, and he's just playing records. But this man knew how to attack and on downbeats and things like that. He knew all of that stuff. I was like, wow, I want to learn that. So my first gig, I did a house party with 2 compact stereos. It was 4 speakers and 2 different turntable systems. And I just had, he had felts, but I cut like papers out, and I just held it. I didn't have beat control, and I just mixed, and the party went off pretty good. And that's where I started, with 2 different compact stereos. But over the years, like people, my family, they encouraged me. So my brother-in-law, God rest his soul, one day he went out and he saw these clubs, and he said, we can make money. So there was a Sweet 16 in this Domino's Club in Prospect. This is the heart of Fort Apache. So he brought 2 turntables and a mixer downtown in Manhattan. And we started doing parties like that in these clubs. And it was like a Sweet 16, that one. And then we did a wedding after that. This was culture shock. We're doing a wedding, and the bride's sitting there having her cake. And then a fight breaks out between her husband and some other guy who came to get his drunk wife out of the wedding. It was wild. And the poor bride sitting there eating her cake. And like, do I keep on playing music? And then just keep playing music. Just play music. Crap.
Yeah.
It's like they need the speakers. You gotta, then you stop. That's the way it was back then.
Wow.
So you were a pretty young guy, and you progressed pretty fast in the grand scheme of things, and you ended up bringing your talents downtown.
Yep. I mean, I got lucky because I started learning things. I learned music. My brother-in-law taught us how to count music because he was a singer. He was a musician. So he said, count music, and then he had us practice. He said, show me where the downbeat's coming in, and what would you do at this point? Or do you want to just let it ride and wait for a different point? And he had us practice 4 or 5 hours on the weekends back in those days. And then, you know, I would go every day to my sister's house after school, and I'd be on the system. And he was like, it's okay. So boom. And then as you did more gigs, you met more people, and the more people you met, you know, you learn different things. So when I started going to Manhattan clubs, the first one was, I think, Starship Discovery. And this was on 42nd Street and 8th Avenue. In 1970, 75, 76, this was not a nice area. I'm talking about, it was literally, I mean, you had women, you had prostitutes and the pimps literally right there. And this club was in the back of a parking lot. You had a dark parking lot, which is now a big skyscraper over there. But in those days, that place, it was one of the nicest clubs because they had all this neon. I never seen, like in the Bronx, they had crystal balls, and that would be a lot in these clubs. And I went to Manhattan, they had all these neon flashing lights. I was like, wow. And that's where I discovered Jonathan Ferry. I was like, this freaking guy is a master. This dude would mix anything, and he built up the crowd. I mean, he started on a real low, in the hundreds BPM, and he worked that thing up into a 125 frenzy. I was like, how the fuck does he do it? Because he would cut the precise places, and he would use sound effects. So I was like, that shit is bad. So this guy, I became a fan of his, and I followed him, and I tried to copy everything he did. And eventually, I bugged him so much he let me carry his records at one point. And I was like, so because you get in there, and you watch people, man. This guy, I watched him, and that's where I got a lot of my techniques from in the Manhattan days. And then he got a residence. He went from there to Funhouse. So he started working Funhouse, and then Ted Curry took over that residence, and then Jelly Bean took over.
Now tell us a little bit about Jelly Bean while we're on that subject.
Yeah.
John's a good guy. John's been, I mean, man.
How far do you guys go back?
Well, we both went to the same high school, but he was a whole different crowd. I wasn't even, he was cool kids, you know, because he was
right.
A record producer. I was just, if I was lucky, I was on the handball team. You know, and John was already doing records back then. Well, he was still in high school, and he was getting up there. He was already working big clubs. So I was like, what the fuck? I could do what this guy does, you know?
Right.
And then with Jonathan, I was like, fuck, if I'm watching him, I said, he, you know, between Jelly Bean had his style, you know, because he does a soft groove thing, and he works you, you know. And Jonathan, I mean, Jonathan made you use your imagination, because with John, you could hear what's coming up, and sometimes it didn't work perfectly, because I could hear what he was trying to do, and he might miss it. And you don't say nothing because, you know, it's not easy being in the DJ booth with all these people on there. But John always had a good personality. And then the dude, he looked like a model. So he had girls all the time. And that's where Madonna jumped on this man. And that was it. Because he was like, this is my girl from Madonna. Next thing you know, she had a record. And he was pushing it in Funhouse. And then it was on the radio. So once you had him, I mean, damn.
And he got you into Funhouse, or that you were just, he was just there?
Actually, he closed the Funhouse out when he took over the residence. I think he was the last DJ to work that place before they lost their liquor license. But he took it from a high-end disco, and he took it into freestyle, hip-hop, and disco. So he had all these different genders going on. And everybody, I mean, from Brooklyn to Manhattan, the Bronx, they knew him.
And we're talking
and then
about
everybody went to the Funhouse because it was 26th Street. So a lot of people you couldn't get online. If you got online for 54, you ain't getting in.
Right.
In the funhouse, you could go in sweats and pants and shorts, and you're getting in because all you want to do is they're just having fun dancing. They don't care about the big paparazzi shit. That was just a club for hanging.
What year are we talking?
The back of this club, you had the big dance floor with 4 huge columns of speakers, and then you had mirror boards all over the place. And then the DJ booth was a huge clown face that was like 10 feet tall from the floor to the ground.
I've seen those pictures.
And the mouth was people could interact with you, but it was far away. The lips were so stuck out of the clown, they couldn't jump in there and fuck with you.
Right.
And then the back, they had a huge game room with it was like a hot dog stand. I mean, they sold food in the back, and they had all these different pinball machines and skateboard games in there, and it was like a little carnival. That's why this guy, the owner, Joe Monk, he really did it up smart. And then on the other side, they had a place where they were making shirts, so you could go and you could get your own Funhouse shirt done right there, boom, boom, and then take off the shirt you're wearing and put it on.
What year are we
I had
talking?
one. They loved it. I made a shirt with the clown in the front, and then on the back, I had them in 2-inch letters. Fuck Studio 54. Because that back then, I was like, they didn't want us in.
But you ended up at Studio 54.
Well, with Jonathan, I got lucky because Jonathan moved in there.
What year?
Before that, they wouldn't let me in. I wanted to go. I stood in line, and they were like, "Move along."
Joey, what
I'll be
year
honest
are we
with you. This the first time I got in. I was hanging with a friend of mine in high school, and we're at the door, and we're standing 2 guys, and the guy tells us, "Get off the line." I was like, "But we're not interested in women." He's like, "What?" I said, "We're together. We're interested in each other. We don't want to." So the guy goes to the other door, man, and he looks at it. Next thing I know, we're in. I said, "I'm getting in."
That was clever.
Is a true story. So we got in and we're hanging out. I was like, "Wow, this place is wild." So eventually that night, I got lucky. I picked up a girl. And it was like 4 a.m, and I'm walking out the front, and the doorman's there, and he gave me one of those looks like, "What's wrong with that picture?"
I changed my mind.
And then my friend, I'm not sure, I didn't even know what happened to him. After I hooked up with that chick, I didn't even know when he went home.
What year are we talking, Joey? About what time? So we get a timeline.
79, that happens.
Okay.
Wow.
So, Funhouse.
Before that, the Funhouse, I did that shirt. Funhouse was on the West Side Highway, on the west side. I had a friend, he had a motorcycle, so I was like, "Dude, can you get," my older brother lived in the village, West 4th Street. I said, "Dude, can you give me a ride uptown? Because I got to get to this club. I'm helping out somebody DJ tonight. I want to get in there to see if I can get into, get a set going and, see if I get my chance." So I'm riding on his motorcycle up the West Side Highway, people honking their horns. "Stop sleeping the floor!" And I'm like, "Yeah." So the owner loved that shit. I got off that bike and those letters were there. And eventually I think he had a butt made and he wore it on his damn lapel. And I think that's where I got it from because I saw him wearing that button that said "Fuck Studio 54." And they made the shirts. And here's the funny thing. My mother, I was still in my mother's house in those days. My mother does the laundry and she reads the damn shirt. So she takes my shirt and she puts it on the damn ironing board. She's trying to take off the leathers. So eventually she got rid of the word "fuck" and everything. I was like, "Ma, you messed up my shirt. That's what that cost me a lot." You shouldn't be walking around with those words on your back. I was like, "Oh my God." Somewhere in my closet, I still have that poor shirt. But that was a fun memory. So you can get any kind of shirt done if you want it. Any design, and that's what made the Funhouse fun. And then above that area there was the lounge where people, you never know who you saw having sex up there.
That's
Oh my.
Manhattan Club stuff.
Well,
what year did Funhouse? Oh, I'm sorry, Howie.
I was just thinking, like, we were working the city at the same time, but it sounds like his scene was more punk than the punk scene that I was doing lights and sound for.
You were only blocks away.
Yeah, but his world was it was day and night because that was his places were hardcore rock and dance, man. Nobody in those clubs, nobody went there to be seen by paparazzi. They went to hang and party.
Yeah.
Where in 54 people want paparazzi, you know. And from what I heard, when it opened up, they had a great opening party. But then a few days after that, it was empty. And it didn't really catch on until they threw Bianca Jagger's birthday party and did the horse thing. And all the media, they soaked that up. So after that, Rebel and his partner knew they had their little gimmick going.
I'm wondering if the Funhouse took a cue from 54, because I was reading recently about when the Funhouse opened up that they wanted it to be like a circus, like you said, and they had ABC News there, Channel 5, and one of the others, because they brought caged tigers and an elephant outside the place
I was
grand
never
opening.
seeing that. I did see crazy shows because they had when I started going there, there were shows where they had sexy women dancing with snakes and jugglers, flamethrowing jugglers and whatnot.
Oh wow!
So I guess they might have did the tiger and animal things for the opening night because if you walked around, they had a lot of decorations of animals like a circus. All strategically placed around the club. So
Wow.
So what year did you close Funhouse when you were done with Funhouse?
I think they closed it in '84.
Okay. Were you working there
No,
around the
I
time
had-
they closed, or you were done with that already?
1980 when Jelly Bean took over. For me, it was a younger crowd and they were more into freestyle hip hop, and I wasn't crazy about hip hop. I'm a high energy because the DJs, all the DJs I fell in love with were high energy DJs. I mean, I could take a set an hour or two, but Jelly Bean, that was their thing.
So where did you end up taking your talents after Funhouse?
Say that again.
Where did you end up going to DJ after Funhouse?
I followed Jonathan till 54 and just kept learning, watching him be his bag man. And I would get, he's like, I'm tired. Can you fill in while I go to the bathroom or get a drink? I'm like, boom.
Yeah, man.
And 54, they didn't have techniques in that club. I don't remember what the name of they were, but they had some freaking turntables.
Stanton, maybe?
No, not even Stanton. I think
Wow.
might have been German or something. They were TH something.
Good stuff.
But
not
I mean,
DJ.
they were made to just boom. But those guys, I mean, they were set up. It was a Broadway thing, so they had the lighting company guys right there, and they had all this different stuff. And if somebody, like, I heard stories of one of the, oh man, what's his name? He got rest his soul. One of the original DJs that were the residents that opened it, that worked for Rebel. He worked from Jersey. Oh man. Anyway, I heard stories where he was DJing and Diana Ross is sitting in the fucking DJ booth on top of the records and he couldn't get to the fucking records. And he was like, I need to get there. But since it was Diana Ross, the owner was like, fuck you, she could do whatever she wants. But that's the kind of thing those guys dealt with.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Now, by the time you got in there, Rebel was gone, right?
not really. I mean, because if like Michael Jackson was one, if he showed up with something new, the owner was going to let him do it there to see.
Right.
And they did that with Billie Jean. It was like two guys took over the DJ booth. They put the music and they just started cutting the beat. And they had the bridge with all the lights. So the bridge came forward and the skinny person jumped on the bridge and was dancing around. I was like, wow, who the fuck is this guy? Takes the mask off and it's him. And it's like, boom. And he sings a song. People lose their fucking minds. The lights go down and he jumps off the bridge and you could see they open up the door and he just leaves. Right. And I guess he goes to another club. And then up in the DJ booth, Billie Jean, there was 2 copies of Billie Jean in the DJ booth. So whenever he did that, he wanted to do that. I heard that they did it no matter what. When Off the Wall, whatever, he'd come in the club, boom. And I'm pretty sure if Diana Ross or somebody else wanted to sing, they were singing. I know Grace Jones. Grace Jones did some fabulous shows at 54, but she would get on that bridge and she had this presence.
Well, you knew her, didn't you?
What was that?
You knew Grace Jones, didn't you?
I worked with her a couple of times. A very nice lady, very professional. You know, all you had to do was do your job. And if she was comfortable, you weren't getting cursed out. Right. And thank God I was never cursed out.
Well, you got to know some pretty famous people on a real personal level, and you've told me some pretty cool stories.
It was just the luck of the draw.
Yeah.
Being in these places, man, because they're like, we need somebody. There were jobs where I was just holding a mic off stage for the singers. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that.
Right.
Because you learn and you meet people.
Just jump in wherever you're needed or wherever you can just to be part of it.
So eventually then you network and you meet other people. And I just did my thing and people took notice.
Yeah, so, that's how I did it myself. Anything they needed. And then pretty soon I was on the gear. And
see, in the 80s, disco died, right? Disco was gone. There was no real market for it. So I jumped into Latin. So I went and I got I learned how to become an engineer to do front of house sound or stage mixing for bands. I got hooked up with a band, which was the Latin Legends. And these were all the biggest names in salsa there was, you know, all these Fanny Osa guys. So I got lucky and I was like, boom. I can't believe I'm working with these people.
But you know a lot of these people from the neighborhood, don't you? From family.
What?
You know some of these people from back in the neighborhood, right?
Well, Larry Harlow, Celia Cruz. I never met Hector, but the year he died, we did that big concert in Madison Square Garden. And that was wild.
But you knew some people, like you posted something a while back, and I can't remember who. It was somebody who was family or close enough to family to you.
Larry Harlow was like, he's my godfather.
Right, that's what I was.
And then you meet all these people. I mean, 40 years on the road with a lot of these musicians. If you're lucky, you know, and you respect them, they treat you like family. And I got lucky that I was like family to these people.
Right.
Celia Cruz, the first time I met her, it was backstage in Madison Square Garden. So I was holding her mic. I was the guy, they say, hold this for Celia. Bet, I'm there.
Right.
So she came out and I introduced myself. I said, I have your microphone. You know, so I checked the battery and everything. She says, thank you. What's your name? I said, Joey. I said, can I take a picture with you? She said, yeah. So we took a picture and I told her, I'm going to be with Larry in the studio this week when they do the overdubs because of the tracks in Puerto Rico they recorded for the album didn't come out that well. So they were redoing them in New York. I told her, I'll give you a copy. She said, very nice, thank you. So then I guess she talked to Larry backstage or whatever. So the concert was great. She did her number. She ate them people up. Later on that week, we did the studio session. I lived up in the Bronx. So the Bronx from Manhattan is like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Because I'm up the west side and that was on the east side.
To drive it.
Get to the studio. She's like, where's my picture? I said, I forgot it. I'll be right back. I swear to God, I jumped into a taxi, went up to the Bronx, spent $50 in the cab going and coming. But I made sure she had her picture because I promised her she was so sweet. You know, that's the way she was. And she never forgot me. So I was lucky. I was like, and her husband was a really excellent man. I mean, those people, I was lucky, man. I was just lucky.
Didn't he have a special nickname?
Who was that?
Celia Cruz's husband.
Don Pedro. Everybody called him Don Pedro.
Who was Snowball?
Well, I don't know. She called him Snowball because of his white hair.
That's what I was going to
I wouldn't call him Snowball. Don't Pedro,
no.
you know.
Yeah, you got enough
Just
trouble.
like calling the Godfather, you know.
Yeah,
Not gonna call the Godfather Snowball, and then next thing you know, you're somewhere in the river in Jersey, man. He was a
Jersey
great,
always gets a bad rap.
Poor Howie.
yeah, look, most of these guys are really cool people. Like Johnny Pacheco, God rest his soul. He was a nice man, and he was the mastermind behind all of that stuff. This guy started Fania Records in the 70s, and then he sold it off so his wife wouldn't get the damn company in the divorce.
Oh, wow.
You know what? I think a lot of people don't know, and this is just a general statement. Most people don't know that salsa is a very New York thing. Like this is the roots of it. Some people know what Puerto Rico. Yeah, they're Puerto Ricans, but New York was the epicenter.
It was the dance epicenter of that. It was New York dance music.
Right.
In Puerto Rico and in Cuba, they had dance music, but they didn't call it salsa. New York is salsa because it was a mixture of jazz, Latin jazz, and a little bit of rock and roll. And it was just wild. And they made it a dance thing, and it just blew up and took off.
Now, isn't it crazy when you think about it? I mean, you're talking about the 80s when you're doing this stuff primarily. And you think about where this has gone, where now salsa, merengue is very mainstream, even with people who look like me.
Well, you go to Japan. I mean, you know who's a huge, I bet you'll never guess. There's a famous movie star who played a bully in the 80s in what the hell was that movie? My Bodyguard. Do you remember that movie?
Yes, I do. And
One of the stars of
he's
that
a Baldwin.
movie.
Baldwin, right?
Was it Baldwin? I don't know. I know one of the bodyguards, one of the people in that movie, who was a huge salsa fan that freaked me the hell out. And he started showing up at shows all the time and he said, "Can you get me in?" I said, "Yeah, dude, come on in." Matt Dillon.
Oh, Matt Dillon. Oh,
Matt Dillon. Wow.
Matt Dillon is the biggest. I was like, son of a bitch. I was like,
So wait a minute. You got to be the cool guy, and a movie star comes up to you and says, "Can you get me in?" And you get to be the cool guy and say, "Oh, sure."
yeah, no, because a lot of places they stick with the
That's
list.
awesome.
I was like, no, he's on Larry's list of men. He loved the music. I mean, this dude danced. He didn't just sit there and watch. He danced. He got up and he got into the room. I was like, this he loves the music. He loves to dance.
right.
You know, and I said, that's cool. And he was never a stuck-up person saying, like, he never demanded. He's like, could I get in? I was like, you're in. If I was at the gate and he showed up, he was getting in.
Nice.
But most of the time, you would see him, he would be in Copa or whatever Latin club was, whoever, depending on the act that he wanted to see, he would go. He was there in New York.
Wait, do you work Copa as well?
Copa, I did Copa with bands as a mixer because the Copa had their own house guy as a DJ.
Right.
I think maybe once or twice I got to spin there in the old Copa, not the new one.
I didn't even know you worked there. When
Wow.
didn't you work in New York, Joe?
Yeah, like, wait, now that brings me to one thing. How did you get to work? I mean, I worked a lot of places, but I don't have that feather you have in your cap. You worked
See,
Lincoln
I
Center.
I
You
met
worked
this-
Lincoln Center.
I
My
met
God.
this lady, her name was Anna Alice, and she was a booking agent. So since I was working with Larry and she saw me DJing, she said, listen, I can get you the band and the DJ to do a Latin set with them and get it going. So a lot of times that's how I got in. And that's how I started DJing with this band. So when he sold his orchestra, he sold me as a DJ. And then when we went on tour around the world, they sold me as a separate DJ to play between the band sets. So I would do the sound for the show, turn around and look at a CD system and play CDs for the break between while they were doing their getting ready for the next set. So that's how I got lucky.
Yeah,
I
that
just
is
said,
great.
and I didn't, that's like, they said, we got maybe $800. You want to do this gig? Yeah, I'll do it. I don't care. And then when they say world tour, forget about it.
Right.
Yeah. Sure.
Who wouldn't say? Who would say no? That's just amazing that you were able to do all these things, meet all these people, play all these places, and just see the.
See, I'm sure you have somebody that books you around Milwaukee and all over.
Yeah. Yeah, around Milwaukee though. I mean, we're not going to Japan about it. If I'm lucky, I'll go to Chicago.
See, I was just looking because in New York, it's just a center for people jumping off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The wildest gigs we ever did were out in Arizona. We're in the desert, and these guys are getting buzzed. And all I hear is these people talking about UFOs. I was like, what does that got to do with music? It's like, dude, don't you know where you're at? I was like, yeah, we're in Arizona. So it didn't dawn on me that this was supposedly the UFO capital of the world or whatever.
The first sightings. Yeah.
You know what was cool? I loved, and this was another place that freaked me out, Minnesota.
Yeah.
We did a freaking concert.
We know somebody from Minnesota.
I was like, they like outside Minnesota, and then boom, it was full. I was like, holy crap. It was in a big carnival. It was some big fair they had, state fair or something. Because I remember I walked by all these different kind of exhibits and rides and monster trucks. And the cool thing was the Minnesota Vikings, they had shops there, their gear and whatnot. And then you got to the stage. I said, Latin music. I said, well, let's see. It worked. And the people loved it.
So with all this cool stuff that you've done, you are still, to this day, a mobile DJ as well.
I hope to be again as soon as I get my legs back.
You will. You will. But you're doing, I mean...
You know what I want to do? I want to start doing podcasts and just... People like, over the last few years, but with my health issues, I couldn't do what they want. People like, can you DJ for me from your house? I said, I'm sure it's possible. But the way things are, because I couldn't stare at a screen. Like, right now, I look at this screen and I look away because my eyes can't deal with it so much. And then couldn't you DJ for me? I was like, honestly, I wouldn't even try because I'm not going to mess up your party. I said, you're better off just listen to it. There's tons of DJs out there. Go to this website and see if you find one that you like.
Well, you've done your share of weddings and parties and things as a mobile DJ, though, correct? I mean, you've done quite for years.
When you're not working, that's where your money comes from. Weddings, you know, it's like, can you do my uncle's wedding or my niece's wedding and stuff like that? And
now you were doing this.
I've done parties. You know what's the big difference? You with the corporate parties in New York. I had tons of corporate. I did Chase. I did a lot of banks, and this was because of Anna. She booked them.
Yeah.
She's like, can you this company is doing a party. Are you open? I was like, yeah. What she goes, and this is what I loved about her. She says, what are you going to charge me to do this party at this place for this many people? I'll give her my number. She would throw her number on top of that and always got it. So I never complained because she gave me what I asked for. So if I'm DJing for 500 people and I got to lug a certain amount of speakers to this place and then go upstairs or whatever, you know, I'm putting a steep price on that shit, man.
Right, you got to bring in help.
And then I said, then we have to pay for insurance. I got to pay for techs to help me load stuff. And then we have to pay for parking and whatnot. But you put all of that stuff in your rider, she gives it to them, and these companies always wrote it off.
Right, no question. Here you go, take it.
Yeah.
That's what with a personal claim. If somebody came up to me, I would ask them, what's your budget? What are you looking for? What do you have? And what do you want me to do? And they were like, oh, can you do this, and that? I said, well, if you want your name on a big screen or big video thing, I mean, this takes stuff to get set up, and we need to do this. And it's going to cost you because I got to pay somebody to monitor that and do it. You know, and you tell them, and you be honest with them. And they could either afford it or not. And if they can't afford it, then you give them something they can afford. It's not so hard.
Sure.
You know? And that's how I operate. I never promised people stuff that I couldn't deliver.
Right.
And if I did if something happened and I screwed up, I had no problem giving them money back because that was on me. And I rarely did that. Maybe twice in my life. I didn't think I did good enough job. And I said, no, you get your money back. And they respected that. And I still got booked later on because shit happens. You're not, and when we started, you got an amp rack. If you blow an amp, you got to crank up a different amp and hope that it's not too much time switching cables.
That's what a lot of people don't understand. I mean, yeah, backup gear is important. Now, back in the old days, it was different because you had passive speakers and active amplifiers. But what a lot of people aren't thinking about is, even though you have backup gear, you have to have a turnaround time plan figured out, because if it takes you 15, 20 minutes to do this gear swap, that's 15, 20 minutes, you got dead air. So there's more to it than just having the backup gear. You have to have a plan to get the...
See, and that's when what I would do, I have send out somebody with giveaways, and you take away their attention with a bartender and giveaways, and you start giving them stuff, just like glasses or whatever, and let them drink, and you do it as quick as you can to switch, and boom.
That's smart. Yeah.
See, nowadays people ask me with the digital files. I do intro loops and outro loops, and I program them on every freaking song that I know I'm going to play in a set. And they go, why do you do an exit loop? I said, that emergency exit loop would save your neck, because if you have no song, or you typing to find a song and you can't find it, and that loop kicks in, you're not going to lose the crowd, because if you did it right, you have an 8-bar loop or 4-bar loop, and it's just playing, and then you put the next one in and nobody will notice.
Right.
And people don't. I was like, well, that's stupid. I said, it's not stupid. It's a backup plan. Cover your ass.
Yeah.
In the old days, we didn't have that. If your record was finishing, you're like, damn.
It's interesting how I don't feel like the new generation uses the technology more than we do, but I think we appreciate it more than they ever will, because we know the difference. We know what it's like to carry crates of records and have skipping records and passive amps and all that kind of no controllers, decks to carry them, and you've got to have your needles and you got to have everything ready to go and all set for if that thing happens, because it will. So yeah, we appreciate that technology as us guys who've been doing this for a long time, a lot more than the kids.
But they don't realize that. Look behind you. I see your shelf of records, and people don't realize that we used to have to carry literally, maybe a whole shelf like that of records in any kind of weather, rain or snow or whatever. These
one that
nowadays don't have a clue.
The one that kills me is, well, how do you don't bring all your records, kid. You bring your cherry-picked crates, and you try to have a little something there to cover your butt for whatever situation might comes up. And you're not going to have every song. And you're going to have to deal with these people.
You go to your client, you ask them what they like, and you have that. And then you have a little extra.
Yeah. And you're not going to be able to just do every request. It was so exciting when I felt like I could carry enough music with me on CD even to be able to accommodate pretty much anybody. It was very exciting. And then when MP3 came along, forget about it. But I came from that same school you did, where you didn't always have the track. You had to do a supplemental track. Oh, well, you want to hear some Gap Band? I don't have any Gap Band. How about we do some Zap or whatever? I mean, you just do the supplements there, and you have to deal with the people making requests and things. It's a lot different than it used to be. But yeah, that's a cool skill that I think we have and the kids don't, and makes us better.
See, we have imagination. I'll hear a song. I'll be playing a song, and suddenly in my mind, I'm writing that bitch on a different track already. I was like, oh yeah, this is going. If I got, let's just say Michael Jackson, right? Michael's playing, and then I'm hearing somebody's bass line from the Gap Band. I was like, I'm throwing the Gap Band in there.
Right.
Or what I used to do sometimes, I'll be playing R&B, disco, like Rick James or something, and then bounce to the Stray Cats, and fuck with people's minds with it. If you're right, because if you catch it's coming down, Rick James is he does a guitar break, and then off that break, you come in on the drums from the Stray Cats song. If you do it right, man. All I heard with people, a lot of times, I heard, the fucking dancer go, oh.
Right.
And when I heard that, I said, damn, I did something good.
Right.
And I haven't done a lot in my lifetime, because with one time I was playing a party. I'm playing Barry White. What the hell which one was it? It was, oh man, his name escapes me. It was a Barry White song. I went from Barry White to Celie Cruz on a beat because it was, you know how Barry White songs, they had that guitar flow and they would come down, and right there, boom, I threw in Kimbada, which is a very high energy salsa song. I heard a lot of people go, wow. And then the floor rotated. People got off the floor from dancing, to Barry White, and it got into Latin. And that's how we did it in New York. That's how I learned. I watched different DJs. That's a good thing. In a city like New York, you can go different places and learn. If you're smart, you stand there and just learn. Don't ever think you're better than anybody.
Right, and you are like one thing about you. You are the furthest thing away from a guy with a big ego. You always struck me as a very humble guy. You've got stories for days. You've got talent for days. But to talk to you, you're just like, whatever. You're not above anything. You'll talk to anybody, and you compliment people on anything that they do that you think is cool. And even if you could do it better, you still compliment them on it. And I really do.
What was fucked up? I think I did they booked us. They booked the band, and they booked me to DJ, and they booked Jelly Bean to DJ. This was in Christie's auction house. This place, we had billions of dollars of artwork all over this place. It was a fundraiser, and Tupac was still alive. Tupac was there. Mickey Rourke was there. Jelly Bean, of course, was there. And it was a whole bunch of other big stars. The thing that caught my eye, Tupac is walking around in bandage. He has all these freaking bandages on, and he's still partying. I was like, wow, this guy is wild. And then Mickey Rourke, the band's playing. He walks up to the piano, and he stands right in front of Larry, and he just watches this man play the piano. And he got lost in the piano. And I was like, look at that. What's wrong with this picture? And Mickey Rourke is holding his drink, and he's just like looking at the piano, listening to the music. Now, I brought about 4 crates of records, which wasn't necessary because it was mostly the band. Right. Jelly Bean came to this gig. He had a folder of records. So we took a lot of pictures. I said, man, there's a lot of nice songs. Let's get some nice shots. So we took pictures. And I felt bad because he never got a chance to fucking spin, which I don't know if he cared or not. But it was just one of those nights where the band played. I did a little set, and then the band played, and that was it. Next thing you know, these people collecting the money, and the fundraiser was over.
Right.
But John was a nice guy. He didn't get pissed or anything. He has a good attitude. He gave life to a couple other guys. Little Louis Vega. He's out of Jelly Bean's party because they were working clubs in the Bronx.
Oh, I didn't know he was okay.
There was a place called the Devil's Nest, which was right in Tremont Avenue in the Bronx. This was a hot area, very hot gang area street. It wasn't safe at night if you look like me, But these guys, they made that club work, and Louis Vega has chops there, and then him and Jelly Bean kept working together. And Louis Vega is one of the hottest producers in music these days, him and his partner Kenny. And all those guys, they're from the streets of the Bronx. I was like, how the fuck? They got their break. So that's why I went to learn engineering. And people like, oh, can you remix a song? I went and I learned how to work a studio. And I learned that depending on who you're working with, you could bust your ass and spend hours, and you restructure a song, and somebody assigns it away and they take the credit, and you're fucked. So that's why I stood away from that shit. And I just do it when I'm DJing, because I'll take a song and I'll restructure a freaking song and fuck it up and make a whole different version.
Yeah. So before we wrap the show, I got to ask you one question, because I've never asked this before. So we talk a lot about South Bronx. We talk a lot about the people from the block. Do you have any Jennifer Lopez stories?
Do I have any what?
Jennifer Lopez stories.
Well, J-Lo, yeah, J-Lo, I worked with her cousin. She was related to Bobby Rodriguez, who had a famous orchestra, Bobby Rodriguez and La Compañía. I was working a supper club across the street from Studio 54 on 54th Street and 7th Avenue. It's called Havana Rio. And when Jennifer started, her family, they had a whole table, whole section. Their family would come into supporting the show because this man did a great show. So she's standing there, and I played her song maybe once or twice. And she says, "That's my song." I said, "It's great stuff, man. Good luck." And she was right there. And I didn't think about it. And then later on, boom, she blew up. But she was a nice girl. She's another one from the Bronx.
Yep. I had to ask. That was just an off the cuff thing. I'm like, she wasn't. I don't know.
Known somebody. She never came off to me as a stuck-up person.
Yeah.
But she was very appreciative that I played the song because it was a good song. I don't remember the name of it. It was one of her early tracks.
Yeah.
You know, and she was appreciative. You know, and the thing is, this is one thing I loved about the way I DJ. I'm not one of those DJs that I want to be out there and watch people watch me. I don't want you to watch me. I want you to dance.
Right.
Places
Yeah.
Had smoky glass. 54, you were up there in the bird's nest, you know, and then people were right there. You could ignore them, but I mean, it was still better than having them in your face. I see all these kids and they're standing around. Don't look at the DJ, dance.
Yeah. There's girls here.
Right.
Go talk to the girls, guys. Yeah.
I have one more question before we close. You mentioned that you are thinking about doing a podcast. What would that be? Like some of these wonderful stories, or would you be helping or teaching?
Mix. I just want to play. Say, you know, like create like my private little radio station for an hour or two whenever I felt like it, and go on and play. Because Mixcloud is doing it. There's so many websites. I started back with True TV when they were out, and that's when I was doing DJing live like that. I was like, oh, but this is great. Then True went down. Somebody took them over, and they were gone. But now you got Mixcloud. What the hell is that? Mixcloud, and you know what I mean. All those different places and Twitch, whatever.
Yeah.
So I figure I want to set up my studio properly, and I want to set up different systems because I already seen guys out there. I know guys that you have I want to have a turntable rig set up, the 1000 set up, maybe the RX set up with some different decks, and just have fun with nobody's telling me what you can play and what you can't play.
Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah, got you.
Just have fun, man. At this point in my life, I want to have fun.
Gotcha.
I really. Nobody, unless you're paying me, do what I want.
Yep, time to have some fun. Joey, I am so glad that you came here to hang out with us.
Well, let me tell you something, Mr.
Appreciate
Red.
it.
You are a big freaking influence in a lot of people's lives. Because I see, I'm struggling personally on my health, but I see you bust your ass out there and dealing with everything that was thrown at you, and you're still kicking ass, and that makes me keep on going every day. I was like, fuck that shit. You know, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
And Howie knows. Me and Howie were up there.
Well, Howie's got his own stuff that he deals with too, and he does it like a champ. And
I just don't talk about it. Yeah. But
that's what
Joey,
happens when you live in Jersey, man.
Hey, that's how it is, man. Joey, thank you so much, and hey. I wish you well with your eyes and that you can actually do the podcast soon. And
I want to set it up. I just I want to break this thing in the electro voice,
the mic.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you break that mic in, but come back and see us.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to keep an eye out because when you guys do these things, I'll be. You know, can I get in?
You're always welcome.
You know, I wish was here, Jay. I wish Jay was here, man. Jay's another very cool guy.
Well, you know what? We could probably make something happen with Jay. If you give me about 10 minutes, I think I might be able to make something happen.
If you talk to him, just tell him I send my regards because I know when I lost my mom, it was such a hard thing for me.
He's hanging in there. He's doing good. He's really.
And I know that's not easy.
Yeah. And that wasn't long ago for you either. For your mom.
And you know what I'm saying, because your dad, God rest his soul, he's been gone a little bit, but it still seems like yesterday.
Yeah. It's something that you just get used to. It doesn't go away. You just
See, but you're lucky, man. You got that nice Mustang that's always he's gonna be right next to you.
Yeah.
When you get that bad boy finished.
Yeah, now my kids are just kind of waiting for me to fall over so they can take it because they want to know. Thank you so much,
Joey, thank you again for
night,
being
guys.
with us.
I had
And
so
we're
much
going to have
fun.
to call it.
Thank you.
What
So
was that? Oh,
we're going to say goodnight, and
Buenas
you're welcome
noches.
back anytime.
Anytime.
yes. Thank you for having
Take
me.
care, everybody. Good
Good
night.
night, guys.